welcome everybody to the kickoff of the National Cryptologic Museum Foundation's Cyber Chats for 2021. We're very happy you're here today. And I tell you what, there's a treat today. Staying safe on the internet is so important, especially for making sure all of our K-12 students stay safe and are not exploited by folks who would like to take advantage of their technology. And we're really happy to invite for a panel discussion on this the folks who are actually doing it day to day, and that's Carissa Kim from the K-12 Cyber Talk out in California, and then I'm very pleased to have Kara Groff and Caitlin Knob from Purdue CERIAS. I hope I pronounced your last name right there, Caitlin.
Knobby. Close enough.
Okay, thank you. So these folks are living and breathing, being safe on the internet, and we've got some really cool topics to share with you today. So with that, no further ado, I will turn the microphone over to Carissa Kim from the K-12 Cyber Talk folks. Go ahead, Carissa.
Hello, everyone. It's really nice to meet you. I know that this conference or panel is geared towards staying safe on the internet, so I wanted to provide some tips on how to prevent yourself from being victims of cyber attacks. And cyber attacks can include online identity theft, financial fraud, stalking, bullying, hacking, email spoofing, information privacy and forgery, and many more. But first and foremost, if you are in a cyber attack, you must respond to it immediately. Depending on the situation, there will be different but solutions for most attacks. First, there are many places and organizations to contact, such as local law enforcement, to filing a complaint at the Anti-Phishing Working Group or Cyber Tip Line. But I will be providing some cyber safe tips that you can incorporate in your daily lives. So, first, you should create passwords that are at least 10 characters long and that are not as simple. And to also change your passwords bi-monthly and to not use the passwords for multiple accounts. And so I wanted to show you guys a quick thing really quickly. So if you look over here, this is how secure is my password. And so the most common password people tend to use is password as their password. And so if I were to use that as my password, if you check, it would instantly be cracked. This just shows that passwords these days can easily be hacked, which is why you must create at least a 10-character length password and to make sure to keep it complex. You can use this website, security.org, to check how long your password could instantly be cracked. Next and foremost, make sure to keep the amount of information that you share on your social media to the bare minimum. Of course, it's great to share your posts to keep yourself updated with your friends and family. However, finding the fine balance between information kept to yourself versus information shared on social media is very important because hackers are constantly able to stalk social media sites to collect and catalog data on everyone. Also, make sure to check that your firewall is on. Firewall is what monitors in-go and outgo network traffic. Make sure it is unblocked and unauthorized access to this device. Make sure to have antivirus programs downloaded on your devices, such as McAfee or anti-malwarebytes. Also, make sure to update your software as it allows for the device to run smoother and is less vulnerable to attack. Furthermore, if you are in a cyber attack, make sure to keep any important evidence related to any cyber attacks. So those were the technical tips I wanted to go over. However, you could have easily prevented this if you taught yourself some cybersecurity, as there are many free resources out there. So I wanted to let you guys know about these amazing opportunities. The first thing I want to talk about is K-12 Cyber Talk. Cyber Talk is an all-inclusive educational show, and the main aim is to provide a welcoming environment for everyone to learn and explore different cyber career options, yet show the viewers the importance of cybersecurity and to provide resources. So make sure to hop on at www.k12cybertalk.org to follow for more information. The show is live every other Tuesdays at 5 p.m. PST or 8 p.m. EST. We would definitely love to see new viewers and help spread and give useful tips. just like those cyber safe tips I gave earlier. Also, the best way to also get some hands-on knowledge is by competing. There's so many cybersecurity competitions or CTFs, capture the flags, such as Cyber Patriot or NCL, and they also offer free scholarships if you place, so hopefully you can check those out. And I'll pass the stand to Kara.
Good morning, everybody, or I guess it could be afternoon some places too, but so I'm going to be talking on phishing, and I've got a quick PowerPoint to share out that can kind of keep us on track here. First, phishing is defined as a scam by which an internet user is duped into revealing personal or confidential information which the scammer can use illicitly. Personal and confidential information there, kind of big words as well as illicitly, but basically somebody's trying to get some information about you and they could use it for their own purposes, and your information should stay your information. So phishing is not phishing. Basically, where this word phishing comes from is similar to the act of actually, going out and catching a fish or something. But in this case, attackers are using different techniques to try to catch you being the fish here. And they're trying to lure you in and make sure that, they can get something that they want from you. So I think the biggest two things about phishing is that it's always trying to scare you into doing something, as well as try to get you to do something as quickly as possible. Some basic examples I'm sure some of you have heard of are click here for ... or, your account's going to be deleted. The Nigerian prince scam has still not died for some reason, as well as the IRS asking you to confirm your banking information. Some of these are stuff that your guys' parents might, get more of an example of, but something to be on the lookout in the future too as you get older and, get more emails and things. So why is phishing important? I feel like that's always the biggest question whenever you're learning something. Why does this matter to me? And basically, the internet is right now looking like it's going to be remaining forever. And you don't want your information to be sold about you over the dark web or, even just over chat rooms and things. Companies use cookies to track you, which is really great if you want to have like targeted ads and you can get specific information, but they can use it to, get like illegitimate ads. So like fake ads that could actually, really hurt you. And basically they could also target other people in your life, which is really sad because, you don't want to be the cause of somebody else getting into trouble generally. And so phishing emails are basically one of the most common examples. Here's one for Netflix, like, hey, let's type in your credit card information here. And yeah, but Netflix generally doesn't ask you for that. It's also hard because there's not always a standard on these things, but it's always good to just double check these things. As well as there's lots of phishing scams on social media. So like Fortnite, I don't know if anybody actually still plays that, but you can get all the free V-Bucks or the discounted ones, as well as Bitcoin offers as well. Like on TikTok and Instagram especially, you want to get all those free followers so you can get noticed, but generally these things are not legitimate, sadly. Twitter is also another great example of where a lot of these things can happen, especially in DM messages, kind of like we have here. They'll send you like a shortened link and you click on it and you could either give information or it can track you or download malware or something. Bots also, can be good and trusted sometimes, but other times people are just testing and throwing things out. So you got to be careful, and they're also getting better at, not being bots. So, that's going to be interesting in the future. Like I already talked about free followers, Instagram and TikTok. There's a lot of influencers on these, and they can, try to get you to buy something or download an app. All of these things, you might want to trust this person because you really like their content on TikTok. They're hilarious, or Instagram, they have all the good pictures and things, but it's obviously are getting money back on these things. So they can do whatever they want just to try to get you to have money, which to get more money for them. My bad. And so you got to be careful on those things. Another thing we often see is impersonations of influencers and celebrities. You can see like new account or whatever, but their old account is still active, and you got to be careful on those things. And sometimes fan pages can disguise, as legit things, but they're actually, just run by fans. So what can I personally do about phishing, or you personally do about phishing? Be sure to report these accounts. Generally, most of social media platforms and most emails today have like a little report button. You can just send it in to cybersecurity specialists like us, and we can review it and, try to crack down on these things, as well as you can tell somebody who's older than you or ask them like, hey, is this legit or not? And then also just always be suspicious of everything. You can really easy to be like, hey, this is for free. This could be really great, but there's that classic quote, if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. And we don't really want those things. We don't want to be the product in these cases oftentimes. So just wanted to share those things on phishing. I'll turn the microphone over to Caitlin then.
Thanks, Kara. So super, super informative. Carissa just explained what happens after the attack. Kara explained phishing. And now I'm going to talk on how they chose you to do these attacks on. So my focus is actually cyber forensic investigation. So I'm going to kind of talk about what's going through the hacker's mind as they're looking for you. Okay. So if any of the attendees can drop in the chat any of the answers to these questions, that would be great. So the first question is, if I were to Google you right now, what do you think I could find? Okay. If you have any ideas, drop them in the chat. If not, I'll kind of just go through what I would look for in an investigation. Okay, so the first thing I'd probably find is your name. And if I can find your name, I can find your address, so I know where you live now. Online, I can find your birthday. Maybe I could find who you're related to, your mom and dad or your siblings. And then based on your name and your family, I could probably find your phone number. I can maybe find pictures of you, profile pictures. I can go and maybe find who you're friends with, what clubs you belong to, what organizations you belong to, what school you go to. I could probably find your email, what you're interested in based on who you follow. And so in regards to social media, this is an amazing place for an investigator or someone trying to attack to look. So what kind of social medias could I find, do you think? I could probably find Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok.
And for us old people, Facebook.
Facebook, yep. Instagram, probably. And so do you think if I got all this information, I kind of have a pretty good idea of who you are? I would say so. So what's important to note about your online presence is that it is publicly available for anyone to see. And in cybersecurity, we call this open source intelligence, or OSINT, which you will kind of see thrown around maybe later when you're in college or something like that. So OSINT. And what open source intelligence means is that all this information about you is actually publicly available on the internet for anyone to see. And as someone, as a bad guy or as a good guy, if I can find it, anyone can find it. And so that's a super important thing to consider when you're making a social media and you're deciding whether you want to do private or public. Because if you're private, I would have to request you to see all that information, who you're friends with, where you are, where you're posting, the things you're doing. But if you're private, I would have to request that, and I couldn't see that right away. So that's something to consider, and I hope you take away from this the abundance of things that are open and available on the internet. And so like Kara, how she was showing like Fortnite and all the phishing emails. Let's say I'm on your Instagram and I know you love Fortnite because you're posting all about your Fortnite, right? And I Google you and I find where you live and I find your email address, right? So now I know you love Fortnite and I know your email address. I might even know your phone number. Might send you a little email saying, hey, like what Kara's saying with the V-Bucks and all that. Hey, I saw you on Instagram. Like, here's something on Fortnite, click this link. Next thing you know, you click the phishing email because you thought it was a good source, but it was really just someone who had collected all your information from the internet, which is a little bit scary, but it's scary for a reason. It's scary so you learn and are aware of the available resources that someone can find. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm all done here.
Great. Well, we've got some questions here. You talked about passwords and lengthy passwords and the best passwords, and thank you for sharing the security.org page. Do you have an example of what a good password? I know in cyber talk shows you've talked about what a good password might look like. Do you have an example you can share?
Definitely. So when you normally make an account for passwords, I would say that the bare minimum is that the password should at least have a combination of lower characters, upper characters, numbers, and symbols. But I feel like that they should also be somewhat long and complex so they don't undergo brute force attacks and won't be hacked. And so I think one example that I wanted to say it would probably be maybe having at least 14 characters, and I'll just make a random one right now. So say that I wanted to make my password somewhat, say that I really enjoy sushi, and I think I'd probably maybe incorporate sushi and like maybe another thing I really enjoy, ice cream. So I would maybe do capital SUSHI and then have like a number, and maybe let's do any random number like 98 with ice cream, like capital instead of I, let's use an exclamation point, ICECREAM, and then let's do another character, and I would do a percent sign. It would take at least 1,000,000,000 years. But some may say, oh, it's sort of hard to remember, right? And so there are different softwares or apps that where you can store your passwords, but sometimes it might not be the safest route, right? So I think the best way is to truly just memorize your password. Another way is by having a certain algorithm or like a certain pattern so you can switch it out based on the different types of website you are on. But I think that's completely up to you, but just make sure that it's long, includes numbers, upper and lower capitalized letters, and numbers. So yes.
I really like that 1,000,000,000 years. That's pretty good. I think that would be good enough for my bank account. Thank you, Carissa, as well. And Kara, on the phishing attacks, you showed one of the areas that looked like a legit organization. I think it was from Netflix or something like that. So your thoughts on if you get something like that? I mean, I've received some interesting phishing attacks. Since this is my profession, I know what phishing looks like. But can you maybe share some other thoughts about how you would go, okay, well, maybe this is legit from Netflix. What's a way to go about determining that without clicking on that particular link to start with?
Yeah, great question. One of the easiest ways is that we look at in my workplace is to definitely look at the sender to see if it really is from Netflix or if it's just like spoofed or like faked. There's all kinds of ways you can just Google how to do that. And I think any one of us could, after about 5 minutes, trying it out, we can totally spoof an email to whoever we wanted generally. So that's like the first step. Most places also have a phishing email you can just forward it to and be like, hey, is this legit or not? And if you're like really not sure, that's like a great place to start. And I think also with that, it's also key to make sure everything's spelled correctly, just because that's one of the easiest ways to be like, well, they didn't do their due diligence in spelling, which, I guess could happen at a company too, but generally it's, run through by a couple different people before it's sent out. So those are like some of the easiest ways I can think of.
Cool. Now, you talked a little bit about the dark web. Can you maybe explain about the dark web a little bit? And curiosity has me. How do you get to the dark web? Or should you go to the dark web?
Ooh, that is a great question. It's kind of complicated how you get there, I guess, but you can again just Google and you should be able to get there. I do not recommend. I think if you're not looking for something specific, it's kind of very confusing on the dark web and things. So it's yeah, so it's just pretty much a way that honestly the dark web is just a place you aren't tracked as easily as the current internet and like what we are typically used when you go to Facebook and things. And so it's not used to just like get on Facebook. You're there for a specific purpose, honestly, most times. And so, yeah, with that, that's kind of one of the reasons that a lot of people's information is sold over there because you don't really know who is who. Everything's mostly anonymous in cases. And it's, I guess, yeah, that's
Bad place.
yeah, bad place. Yeah, not an ideal after school kind of thing. So
Well, this is maybe for Caitlin and or Kara, for both of you maybe, and Carissa, I'm happy for you to join in here because I know you have your talk that you do. I'm really interested in the comments that you made about the bad guy's attitude. And I think one of the challenges I think out there is that we don't teach that. We don't teach the psychology of the bad guy, et cetera. And nothing has really changed. I mean, we have people who are bad and they rob stores and they, steal cars, et cetera. And so, bad people haven't gone away. It's just that there's a new tool for them to use, and that's the internet. So can you maybe, enlighten our viewers here on maybe some resources and or thoughts about how to become more informed about the adversary and how they think? Because I think in Caitlin and Kara, your thoughts of okay, if I can find out who you are and I can really target you, et cetera, I can go after you. So if you could maybe talk a little bit more about how people can inform themselves about the bad guy.
Well, I find the history of hacking to be actually so interesting. So, in the beginning, when hacking was just started, the psychology and mindset behind people attacking or hacking was out of pure curiosity and pursuit of knowledge. There was no malintent involved. They just wanted to understand how everything worked. And then this device called, like this hacking called fracking, where they would hack phone calls because you used to have to pay for phone calls. And so they would make devices to hack it so they could make calls for free. And that's kind of when hacking got introduced. It was called fracking. And then the internet got involved, and people were still hacking out of curiosity and the pursuit of intelligence. But then slowly, people started realizing that there was monetary gain and economic gain in doing these things. So now your modern hacker and people who are trying to attack you, almost majority of the time, they are doing it for monetary reasons. They're not doing it to get a kick out of you. They are doing it to try to get some form of money or intelligence from you. And so that's kind of how the psychology of this kind of thing has progressed. So anything with that in mind, anything that has to do with money or access to accounts is typically what you would see a hacker trying to get you. Krista, do you have anything else to add to that?
Carissa, have you done any cyber talk shows on the bad guys?
We actually have not really focused much on like the bad guy's perspective, especially since we just want to introduce like the basis of cybersecurity, although it is important knowing the offensive, like knowing what's behind like the opposite side. But we haven't really covered that yet. But I think that if more people are definitely interested, we'll definitely cover that in our next curriculums. And I think it would be an interesting topic to approach as well too. But we haven't covered that yet, unfortunately.
Cool, thank you. Hey, Kara, one of the things that I always advise people on, and maybe you guys can comment on this too, is that if you don't know the person who's sending you something, you don't respond to it. etc. So is that something that you guys share with the folks you talk with?
Yes, that's a great practice. Like, why would this person be contacting me or something? Sometimes, I mean, it can even be people, your friends, are like following you. I think on social media, especially, you, I don't know, friend them because you know, like them or have seen them at school or something. And then you're like, they have no business contacting me and are trying to get me to do something, I think in a sense is another thing. So it can be oftentimes people you know, but a lot of times it's people you don't know too. So it's good to just be wary of everything and cautious. Yep.
Hey,
And
Caitlin,
also
how long does information last on the internet?
forever, absolutely forever. It never goes away. And then
Uh,
also adding to Kara's comment, what I've noticed a lot is that it's super tempting with your social media, especially Instagram. The pursuit of followers, I know it's so tempting. You just want to hit yes, accept the requests because you can get that one more follower and then another follower. But as Kara was saying, what happens is you accept those followers and then they message you, but you accepted them and you didn't realize. And so that can also be super deceiving. So even that one extra follower might not be the best choice if you don't know them really.
I know my grandson likes Fortnite, and I think he does a lot of Minecraft today as well. But and obviously, being my grandson, he knows about this stuff, and he tells me, "Grandpa, I don't like anybody that I don't know." And I said, "Very good, Ryan. That's the way it should be." Etc. And I think that's where there's a lot of danger. There's a lot of people prowling those game sites and looking for people to take advantage of. So that's really good advice. So are there any other, Christine, have you noticed any other questions, or do you have anything for our panel?
Yes, I wanted to ask them about what is Stop, Think, and Connect. We got a few questions about that.
I'm not sure specifically, but I heard it's a national campaign that aims to spread awareness about cybersecurity. If you go to stopthinkconnect.org, they give many advice and tips on how to protect yourself. I know I was like looking through the website and I was shocked to see how good the advice were and how like everyone can easily complete these safety habits so they could live a healthy and safe lifestyle.
What is the one thing that surprised you the most as you were digging, as you became more involved in cybersecurity and started, if you will, noodling around the internet? What was the first thing for you as a consumer, right, of the products that are out there on the internet? What was the biggest thing that surprised you and that you immediately may have stopped doing? Clarissa, we'll start with you.
Okay, sounds good. So the number one thing I was very shocked about is how big the job openings were and how many like cyber attacks there were, but there weren't that many people to fill in these positions, especially since cybersecurity is a very much underrated, I feel like, subject that not that many people are aware about, which is why I'm so glad that we have panels and conferences like these to spread awareness about it, especially since not that many people are unaware. So I think that shocked me the most. And also the fact that there's so many cyber attacks every single day. Like there's so many to even count. And so I think that I'm glad that we have all of us here who will hopefully protect many of the industry from crashing and failing.
Thank you for sharing that one. Caitlin, how about you?
So when I first got into cybersecurity, I assumed in order to get all this information, I have to code something and I would have to use all these tools and I had to be plugging things into my computer. What I didn't realize is that so much information, in fact, in an investigation creating the timeline, is just based off of basic Google public information you can find anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're looking more and more into these cases and these people, you realize just how much you can learn about a person without ever meeting them or not being friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was scary at first, but now I'm an advocate for how important it is to be aware of your online presence and own your online presence. So that was by far the biggest shock for me.
Very important. Thank you for sharing that. And Kara, how about you?
Yeah, so I agree with both of those thoughts. But I also think for me, it was something like my grandparents or like older aunts and uncles like have no clue on any of these things. And it's so easy to be like, well, I'm already here, or this is like one of their Facebook friends gets hacked or something. And they're just like super like innocent in this in a sense. And, these people have been like guiding and helping me throughout my life. So it's a great opportunity to like share things with like the older generations. I know it gets kind of boring answering all their tech questions and things, or like, can you set up my printer and all these other things not related to cybersecurity, but just in computers. But I think establishing like relationships and trust with them is really key, just to, help this spread beyond, us people who know how to use computers and navigate the webs and things. So, yep.
That was terrific as well. I don't have any other questions that have come up.
Great. Well, I really thank all three of our panelists today. Some great answers, some great discussions, some great resources for everyone to go out and check to stay safe on the internet. And so I want to thank all of you for being part of this broadcast, and we look forward to the next one. Have a great day, everyone.